Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Ana Ferreras. I am the SNAP and nutritionist from the Hispanic Health Council, and I have my coworker here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Veronica. I'm the program nutritionist for the Hispanic Health Council, SNAP-Ed.
Okay, so it has been a while since the last time we've seen you. So welcome back to the series Eating Smart Being Active. And remember, in our last lesson, Anedis Morales, welcome. In our last lesson, we talked about protein food and how to keep food safe to eat. And also we learned about a few things that we wanted to related to choosing lean proteins, lean source of protein, and keeping the food safe to eat as well and being more physically active.
Yes, so last time we learned about choosing lean sources of protein foods. So I just kind of want to hear you, Anna, share with us what sources of protein you chose from last lesson, or if anyone watching wants to add what sources of protein they're eating that are lean sources of protein.
For me, for example, I like to include as a lean source plant-based protein. It is black beans. That's the one that I like the most. And what about you or anyone?
I personally really like to use ground turkey in my foods. I like if I'm making like tacos or something, I use ground turkey or ground chicken.
Excellent. Good. So let me now show you here, because today's lesson is about how to build and maintain strong bones. Okay, and drinking milk is going to help to build and maintain strong bones because it is high in calcium. However, milk is not the only thing that has calcium. We're going to talk today about calcium foods.
Yes, and remember, each week we'll be setting goals related to what we've learned. And some weeks you'll be able to achieve your goals, and other weeks you may not. The important thing is that you revisit your goals and try again next week.
Excellent.
Okay, so why is calcium important? So calcium helps us to build and maintain strong bones and teeth, and it also helps to reduce the risk of osteoporosis, which is a disease that causes bones to break easily and a humpback in older people. So in this next slide, we see pictures that are of a cross section of a bone, meaning that this is what we would see if you cut the bone in half and look inside. While it's normal to have spaces inside the bone as we age, the spaces increase. A person with osteoporosis has more and bigger spaces in their bones. As you can see, the bone with osteoporosis has larger spaces than the healthy bone. The larger spaces make this bone more likely to break from falls and everyday activities.
Excellent. So also remember that, hi Lucero, welcome. Remember that adults with osteoporosis have about the same amount of calcium of a 15-year-old teenage. Adults with osteoporosis are brittle and at risk of painful breaks and fractures. So getting enough calcium is important regardless of our age. Children, teenagers, pregnant women, they especially need calcium. So adults need calcium to keep bones strong and to prevent the loss of calcium inside the bones. So while adult bones aren't growing in size, we don't get enough calcium in our diets. Our body they're going to steal calcium in our bones to perform regular functions in the body. So this puts us at risk of osteoporosis.
Yes, so physical activity and strong bones. Another way to strengthen our bones is through weight-bearing activities like walking, running, playing sports, and strength training activities such as lifting weights. These types of activities require your bones to support the weight of your body. Supporting your weight puts minor stress on the bone, which triggers the body to build more bone. In contrast, while swimming is great for your muscles, heart, and lungs, the water supports the weight of your body, so swimming is not considered a bone-building activity. So what activities, Anna, or anyone listening, are you already doing to keep your bones strong?
For example, I like to run bicycles. What about you?
Oh, I love to go, when the weather gets nice, I like to go on runs or I like to go on long walks. Yeah.
Excellent, good. And yes, we do some hiking with the kids now, you know that the weather
Yeah.
is getting more warm.
Warmer.
Excellent. So let me tell you something as well. That dairy food, including milk, yogurt, cheese, and cottage cheese are good sources of calcium. Soy milk fortified with calcium and vitamins A and D is also considered a good source of calcium. So this food also contains vitamin D, which works with calcium to build and maintain strong bones and strong teeth. So the calcium in dairy food is easier to absorb than the calcium in most non-dairy food, okay?
And before we talk about specific foods that are high calcium, let's talk about cup equivalents. So the concept is the same as measurement equivalents. Examples of this are 12 inches is 1 foot, 100 centimeters is a meter, or 1 cup of liquid is 8 ounces. So a cup equivalent in the dairy group is the amount of food that you would need to eat to get the same amount of calcium as you would get from 1 cup of milk. So let's look at examples on this slide that Anna's going to talk to us about.
For example, 1 cup of yogurt gives your body the same amount of calcium as 1 cup of milk that you can find in 1 cup of milk. 1.5 ounces of natural cheeses, it is about the size of 3 dominoes, gives your body about the same amount of calcium as 1 cup of milk. Okay, those natural cheeses include like cheddar, Swiss, and provolone. And 2 ounces of processed cheese is about the size of 4 dominoes, gives your body about the same amount of calcium as 1 cup of milk, okay? And those processed cheese include American cheese and spreadable cheese. 1 cup of soy milk, fortified with calcium, vitamins A and D, gives your body about the same amount of calcium that you can find in 1 cup of milk. And 2 cups of cottage cheese gives your body about the same amount of calcium as 1 cup of milk.
So now with the non-dairy foods, the amounts of the non-dairy foods listed on this slide would give your body the same amount of calcium as 1 cup of milk. So here are some examples. 2/3 cups of tofu made with calcium, 3/4 cup of calcium fortified orange juice, 1.5 cup of canned sardines with bones, 3/4 cup of canned salmon with the bones, 1.5 cups of cooked turnip greens, 2 cups of cooked mustard greens, 1.25 cup of collard greens, 3 cups of cooked Chinese cabbage, and 2.5 to 3 cups of cooked okra. So does anyone want to share with me, or Anna, if you want to share any of the foods that you already eat that are on this list?
For example, it is not in this list, but it's a rich source of calcium, almonds. I like almonds, which is good, good source of calcium as well from non-dairy food. And what about you or anyone that is watching or want to share in the chat?
I like the canned sardines.
Okay.
Those are really yummy.
Yeah, we both. So let me tell you that eating dairy food is the best way to get calcium. However, some people are sensitive, to the dairy, and some people choose not to eat dairy food. So those who don't eat dairy can get all of the calcium they need from non-dairy food sources. Okay, by eating a great variety of non-dairy high in calcium. So it is important to know that the calcium in non-dairy food is harder to absorb, and the amount of calcium that the body can absorb from this food can vary, So this is why the amount of each of this food is different than the amount of dairy food needed to give your body the amount of calcium that you will get from 1 cup of milk. So for example here, how much do we need every day? Children ages 2 to 3 need like 2 cup equivalent of calcium food every day. Children 4 to 8 need 2.5 cup equivalent of calcium food each day. And youth and adult age 9 and up need 3 cup equivalent of calcium food every day.
Okay, now food safety with dairy foods. Using proper food safety practices with dairy foods is important to protect you and your family from foodborne illness. Always wash your hands with warm water and soap before preparing or eating food. Dairy foods should always be stored in the refrigerator. Never leave dairy foods out at room temperature for more than 2 hours. Do not drink unpasteurized milk or eat dairy products made with unpasteurized milk. Pasteurization is a process that kills harmful bacteria that could make us sick. Always look for the word pasteurized on these products.
Yes, and remember as well, do not eat cheese with mold. The very young infants and children, toddlers, the very old, or with immune system compromised, and pregnant women should be careful when choosing soft cheeses, such as Mexican style queso fresco, or feta cheese, or brie cheese. These cheeses are often unpasteurized. Remember, always look for the word pasteurized in any food made with milk.
Okay, and now saving money on calcium foods. Always compare prices. Store brands are often cheaper than national brands. Buy milk in half gallons or gallons instead of smaller sizes as long as you will drink it before it goes bad. Larger size items are typically cheaper by the ounce.
And parents of infants or parent to be, breastfeeding your baby is free. But if you choose formula for your baby, compare the prices of different formula using unit pricing. And as well, comparing brands, different brands for saving.
Yes, so do any of you use any of these tips to save money on calcium foods? If you want to share with us in the chat, please leave it down.
Good.
All right, so parenting tips. Let's talk about kids and milk. So children under 1 should only drink breast milk and or infant formula. Do not give them any other type of milk. Children ages 1 or 2 should drink whole milk. These children need the fat in whole milk for brain development.
And remember that children over 2 should drink reduced fat milk or low fat 1% or non-fat, because after 2, children usually eat a great variety of food and no longer need the fat from whole milk. And serve the meal with meals and water with a snack. And parents should not allow children to drink too much milk, because drinking too much milk means they may not get enough nutrients, okay, from other foods because they are full of milk. So remember that it's important to eat a diet with a variety of food to get all the nutrients that we need. And also remember to be a role model.
Okay, so milk labels. The dairy section of the grocery store has several types of milk that look similar but contain different amounts of fat. When choosing dairy foods, non-fat or low-fat foods are healthier choices than full-fat or whole milk dairy foods. Types of milk are sometimes called by different names. So we have non-fat milk, which is also called fat-free or skim milk. Low-fat milk is also called 1% milk. Reduced fat milk is also called 2% milk. And whole milk is sometimes called homogenized milk or vitamin D milk. It's important to understand that all milk is homogenized and contains vitamin D, not just whole milk.
And remember, something very important, read the nutrition fat label. And also the nutrition fat label lists the total grams of fat, also lists the calcium, any vitamin like vitamin A or D, okay? Karen, welcome. And also, for example, let's do some exercise here. I'm going to show you here two kind of label, one from whole milk and the other from 2% milk, okay? And I'm going to ask you a question. From the whole milk, how many grams of fat can you see there from the whole milk in one serving?
Anna, I see that the total fat in whole milk is 8 grams.
Excellent. And from the 2% milk, how many total fat grams can you see there?
I see that there are 5 grams.
And both, how many percent of calcium can you find in both milk?
I see that they both have 30% calcium.
So what do you need? What do you notice about the amount of fat, calcium, the amount of vitamin D, for example, as well, for each of those these meals? So we can notice that you're gonna get the same amount of calcium from both, the same amount of nutrients in all kind of meals. However, you're gonna get the benefit by choosing reduced fat meal, the benefit of what? Of reducing fat in your diet. So none of the calcium or vitamin D is removed when the fat is removed. Choosing lower fat meal and other dairy food is a small change that can make a big difference, okay, in the amount of fat that we eat. So if you currently drink whole milk, you can try changing gradually. I start by trying reduced fat meal for a couple of weeks. Then you switch to low fat 1% for a couple of weeks, and eventually you switch to non-fat milk. And this gradual change will help you to adjust your taste for low-fat milk. It is important to know that many people think that skim milk or non-fat milk is just watered down from whole milk. No, it is not, at least in this country. So the only nutrient removed from whole milk is the fat. That's the only nutrient removed. Protein, calcium, and all the nutrients and vitamins stay the same for all the types of milk. Also, please choose low sugar yogurt. So read the label and choose yogurt that is lower in sugar and fat. And also you can choose plain yogurt, for example, and you can add some fruit.
Those are all good tips. So now we're gonna follow along as I review some of the main points of the lesson. So to save money on calcium foods, use these tips. Compare prices of store and national brands. Store brands are often cheaper. Buy milk in half gallons or gallons rather than smaller sizes if you will drink it before it expires. The unit price per ounce of milk will usually be less with larger sizes.
And for example, infants under 1 year of age should have only breast milk or fortified formula. Do not give them any other type of milk. In children ages 1 to 2 should be given whole milk only because children this age typically don't have enough variety in their diet and need the fat, for brain development. And children, for example, over 2 should be given reduced fat, non-fat milk or non-fat. After 2, the children start, including a great variety of food and no longer need the fat from whole milk and be a role model.
And to keep milk and other dairy foods safe to eat, follow these tips. Do not leave dairy foods at room temperature for more than 2 hours. Bacteria grows fast at room temperature. Do not eat cheese with mold. Do not drink unpasteurized milk, also called raw milk, or foods made from unpasteurized milk. Pasteurization kills potentially harmful bacteria that can make us sick. Look for the word pasteurized on these products' labels. Young children, pregnant women, the very sick, and the elderly should use caution when choosing soft cheeses such as queso blanco fresco, feta, and brie. Look for the word pasteurized on the label.
And for example, fresh milk can be stored, let's go around those tips. Storing milk and dairy products. Fresh milk can be stored 2 to 3 days past the sell by date in the refrigerator in a closed container. Powdered milk should be stored in a cool, dark place, okay, in a sealed container, and when it is prepared in the refrigerator for up to 3 days. Buttermilk for up to 2 to 3 weeks in the refrigerator in a closed container. Yogurt, for example, can be stored in the refrigerator in a closed container for up to 2 weeks. Unopened evaporated milk can be stored for up to 1 year in a cool, dry place. Once it is opened, then it can be stored in the refrigerator for up to 5 days. Margie Diaz, welcome. And store the soft cheeses, for example, for 1 to 3 weeks in a hard cheeses for several months in the refrigerator. Both soft and hard cheese should be kept in the original wrapper or in a tight closed container for storage, okay? So this has been the class for today. Any question, please feel free to write it down in the chat. And later on, you can review this class with your family, okay? To review all those important recommendations, and any question, please write it down and we can answer you back later as well.
And don't forget, March is National Nutrition Month, so please follow our SnapEd PANA page on Facebook for tips throughout the week and for posts, and you're gonna also get updates on what we're doing in the program, so make sure you stay on the lookout for those throughout the month.
Excellent. And remember, you start